This week's episode of Aussie Tech Heads is brought to you by Start New Company. Register your company immediately today with ASIC. ABN, TFN, GST registration is also available directly from the portal. Also set up your family trust and self-managed superannuation fund and more. All at startnewcompany.com.au. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/startnewco and keep an eye out for our regular specials. Start your new company now within 10 minutes of lodgement. All legal company documentation provided after registration. startnewcompany.com.au. And also brought to you by athwebhosting.com.au. All our servers are operating on SSD drives, immediate activation, SSL certificates, Aussie support, domain registration, and more. Easy install WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, and 300 other one-click installations. Generous space and bandwidth, auto backups, WordPress help and maintenance plans are also available on Contact. If your webpage is important for your business or your life, contact us today. Aussie support, secure services, athwebhosting.com.au. And now for the show.
Welcome to episode 696 of the Aussie Tech Heads, recorded on the 1st of October 2020. I'm your host, Jason Oakley, and this is my co-host, Will Tompkinson. Hey, Will.
Hey, mate.
You're over that side.
I've always been here.
When did you move?
Years
ago.
Had a couple of years. Been in this house for like 4 years, dude.
Who are you? You haven't been on this show for a while, so I forgot.
It's been like 3 weeks. I can tell because my episode counter was wrong.
You can talk now, though. That's probably in this kind of situation.
Probably nearly 2 weeks where I lost my voice completely for a couple of days, and it really took a couple of weeks before it come back up again. That was
somebody else wanted to do our show. How dare he? Just because he started the damn thing.
Yeah, but man, have you seen the intro to last week's show?
No.
He cropped it so only half of it showed, and then 3/4 of the way through the intro, he stopped it, and then after he went live, he tried to figure out where the rest of the intro went.
Oh, the week before last. I was here last week.
Yeah, week before last. So it's like, seriously, dude, come on.
Haven't you done technology before? He's only done like 600 episodes. Give him a break.
No, we're up nearly 700 now.
Yep.
I mean, he's only done like 200 of them, but he was only there for
It's the Will and Jace show.
He's only actually been there for about 12 of them.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But
have you been anyway?
Yeah, not too bad. But it's got hot. It's stupid. It's getting down to 3 and 4 degrees of a night, and we're hitting 34 degrees during the day.
Jeez, dude.
That's just
I got
nuts.
the fan on.
Yeah, I got the fan
Only because it gets a bit stuffy and I like to have a fan on.
I got the fan on at the moment, but like in probably 2 hours, I'll turn it off. Although not so much in here. This room gets hot because I've got on my computer all the monitors, the 3D printer, like it's all...
Servers.
Yeah, the server, the NAS, the media center, the amp, the Foxtel box, the routers.
The other Foxtel box.
So yeah, it doesn't get cold.
And you've been doing some more 3D printing.
Yeah, finally got the bulk of it figured out. It still doesn't go according to plan sometimes.
Turns out the one that I got was a bit dodgy, huh?
Yeah, because I need to replace the extruder stepper because it's overheating, and I need to replace the Z-axis because it sounds like a pack of angry camels. So...
How do you know what a pack of angry camels sound like?
Well,
what have you been watching on YouTube, mister?
Well, it involves a pack of angry camels.
And why are they angry? This is what I want to know.
It's all the donkey's fault.
People deserve to know these things.
Well, if you're watching the same show as I was, you'd know.
Ah. like they do on the Discovery Channel.
Speaking of watching shows,
Yeah.
have you watched Upload yet?
Yeah.
Oh, come on,
It's
you slacker.
Great. I especially liked it when they did that thing. I haven't finished the 100 yet, and I've hardly been watching that because I've been quite busy that I'll get into in a minute.
This you got to watch Upload. It's fantastic. It's an Amazon Prime show, and you can find it elsewhere if you look hard enough.
Yep.
But it's basically the idea is if you can upload to a digital afterlife, and it's a little violent, but
That's what makes it good.
well, it's not. I mean, the upload part's a bit violent, but you end up in a digital afterlife, and you've got your own, that like you can change, like that you can set your weather and change the weather and however you want it, and you can have your own food, and you can have, your own. Well, they're called an angel. They're like tech support. And it's just like you pay. But it's like a paid plan because it's still done by like internet companies running their own afterlife servers or life after servers, and they use real. It's really funny. I don't know if any of this is paid product placement, but there's literally like Horizon Internet and like all these things that are legit companies all through it everywhere. So it's really interesting to see. That's his therapy dog. So it's really interesting to see how they sort of get away with it and do it, and he hacked his self-driving car.
How is it that they're in cars that still only go on 2 axes?
Well, no,
they're not flying.
That was in the real world, but he hacked it so that he could control it with a PlayStation controller. But
it's give people ratings out of
you can rate people and like you can do all sorts of stuff
from
like
from Damon.
Yeah.
Ready Player 2's going to come out.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. And you can do like they can go to the dark web and they can get viruses and there's like spam control and there's like a hole in the hedge. There's a hole in the hedge that these guys like sort of tear it apart and they creep through it and they get to the other side and there's this door that says dark web. And on it, it's got anti-bot protection, and it says, "Are you human?" And there's a tick box that says yes, and it says, "Pick the cats." And like, there's this AI standing there going, and then they walk in the door, go ding, ding, ding. He's like, "Oh, it looks so easy." It's just a really, really well done show. It's definitely there's only 10 episodes in season 1 and season.
Their new season of Archer came out. I was watching today, so that kept me busy.
And season 2 and 3, I think, have been commissioned already. So, it's hilarious. Like it takes all the things that it's to the point where it's so believable it could almost actually happen.
Yep.
But then they just do that one little thing. And you're like, it's done really well. It really is. I don't know who the think tank is behind this, but they've done a really good job.
People from the Office and Parks and Recreation that had on the intro.
Well, that's the producers and directors and stuff, but I don't know who the brainchild of this is. Like, concept. Like they've done a really good job of it. I could look it up, but yeah, you can get obviously if you're part of Amazon Prime, you can find it elsewhere if you look hard enough. Actually, I'm going to look very hard.
Greg Daniels.
It's like everywhere. So
he wrote several Simpsons episodes. He worked with Mike Judge on King of the Hill, People of Earth, The Office, Space Force. Well, that was a flop. I watched a few episodes of that, and I'm like, okay, this one sounds good.
So, but yeah, I just thought I'd mention that if you're looking for something to watch, definitely give that a go.
Sweet.
It's definitely.
Well, I've been pretty busy. I won a contest on Twitch and won 120 UK pounds worth of computer books, which is good. So I just started doing some computer programming. One of them's already arrived, and this.
Well, that book weighs £20.
Yes, it's got a hole in it. That's all green. That's why it's not showing up. There's a guy putting a floppy disk into the garbage. The games that weren't by Frank Gasking It's a hefty tome, but it's full of all these computer games that started being either ideas that were going to be made right from the old Atari 2600s up to modern ones. And they have information like, well, it says at the start in great big letters, ran out of time, publisher changed their mind, licensing, bankruptcy, too ambitious, quality issues, market moved on, legal wranglings, time delays, development issues, failed location test, console bombed, infighting, staff leaving, or company buyout. And a lot of those are the reasons why these games had not been finished, but a lot of them they've actually got screenshots of the game as it was being produced, and some of them have quite good. We got really old ones back, as I said, to the Atari 2600 style. Some of them are just drawings on paper of the graphics and sprites as they were doing it, but you can see really old style graphics there. Really good book, the games that weren't. And so these were never actually released to the public. Some of them actually were mostly complete, and a lot of people have found their old source code. So you can download them from the games that weren't website and play some of them. And yeah, it's really cool. I've got a few programming books that are probably less interesting to a lot of people, but to go with that, my new copy of Freeze 64 arrived, Swamp Fever, which has also got a lot of green on it, obviously. And that's by Vinny over in the UK. It's a monthly magazine, information about new and old Commodore 64 games and hidden features and interviews with programmers and marketing people. And for instance, there was a game on really old computers called Atari 2600, actually, called The Empire Strikes Back. Now they're bringing it to the Commodore 64. So there's one of the sprites you can see there. They render it in a 3D program, then export it, and then draw it on the Commodore 64. That's 13 multiplex sprites to make up the one AT-AT Walker.
That's insane for that machine.
Chris Stanley and Rune Spahns making this game, and it's basically a port of the Atari 2600 game to the Commodore 64. So a lot of really interesting stuff like that. Hopefully I'll end up being in there one day. They also have fan stuff, so if you've got a lot of Commodore 64 gear at home and books and magazines and stuff, take a photo of yourself, you can send it in, and Benny can send you a little blurb with some questions you can answer for the book, magazine. And yeah, it's really good to subscribe for. That's issue 39. They've also got special issues that I bought before, like just a bunch of interviews with really famous game developers, Andrew Braybrook and Tony Crowther and stuff back in the day. £3.99. That's a good price. So I subscribe at 6 months at a time, and every month I get a little magazine in the mail, which is really cool.
If you like that sort of weird stuff, nostalgia stuff, Stuart Ashens, he's got a YouTube channel, but he also has...
Who's talking? Wait, oh, there you are.
He also
That's
has...
the way we became the Brady Bunch.
I'm just trying to figure out why it's not doing... There we go. He also has he's written a few books, and one of them's called Terrible Old Games You Probably Never Heard Of. And it goes through and lists all these, all these games on all these weird... Not only
interview with Jeff Minter. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah, not only does obscure games, but he does obscure consoles and all sorts of stuff. Like Alien Invaders is one there, and some down here. What's he got? It's like starts off with Space Invaders because he uses that as like the benchmark, and then there's like all these rip-offs like Alien Sidestep and Battle Probe and all these different games that you sort of never heard of on different consoles. That was on an Atari ST.
Cool.
That was, what's that for? I don't know what game that was. But yeah, and he's written a couple of them. So there's that one, and then there's his follow-up, which is Attack of the Flickering Skeletons. More terrible old games you probably never heard of. And obviously called, taking the mickey out there with Attack of the Flickering Skeletons. It's all the low-res sprites that, you used to be able to notice that between frames they disappear and stuff like that. So It's yeah, he's does a lot of old stuff like that as well. He's also got one. I can't find it quickly, but he's got another one about consoles, really obscure old systems and consoles and stuff that sort of never made it, or were only ever like UK or stuff like that. So so that's pretty cool.
Interesting.
So
The reason that I'm excited to have won this competition and getting all these programming books is because I decided to make a game for the Commodore 64.
you did.
I've spent the last 10 days. I drew the main game screen's background in a Paint program, which runs on Windows but outputs a Koala Pad format graphic for your background. Did all the sprites. I've got now the last couple of days I've been working on the title screen, which looks like an old Commodore 64 demo. It's got raster bars with the different colors interleaved. It's got bouncing sprites all over the screen. It's got color sweeps going through and a little scrolly message doing a pixel scroll along the bottom, and all these different raster effects and stuff, which has been quite complicated. So there's a guy called Old School Coder, and school is spelled SKOOL, and he's been helping me because he's been programming stuff since the Commodore VIC-20 days, and he's got a lot of good YouTube videos and stuff, and he's got a Patreon as well. Oh, don't show too much because that's a secret. I haven't told anyone what the game is.
I didn't realise that was even going to show up on that monitor.
Yeah.
What is going on? Whoa, what the heck?
You broke it.
Yeah. All my screens have just gone black.
Oh.
So
You need a break?
no, I think I've got this. just fill for a second, will you?
Nobody will be able to guess the type of game based on that name because it's one I made up. It's actually based on an old Game & Watch game, and because I didn't want to infringe on any copyrights or IP, I changed the name of mine to what you just saw on the screen there.
You may not have, I don't know. I didn't even get a chance to see it.
You're a bit screwed over. But yeah, you won't get anything from that name. But yeah, the problem is that because the logo is in green raster bars, a lot of that was green screen.
Yeah, I know.
Well, so it looks terrible.
I don't even know why it opened. Because you sent it to me in Discord.
Yeah.
And I went, I'll just show the Discord screen grab.
Yeah.
And it goes, no, you want this in full screen on that monitor, don't you? I went,
No.
No, I didn't in any way ask you to do that.
I
so
subscribed to old School Coder's Patreon, which helps him out, and he helps me if I had trouble getting the raster bars all stable and get the scrolling message to go right and all that sort of stuff. So he's helped me out with that. I've got a friend, Mike Richmond in the UK, who's a musician, and he did the music for my or the background tune for my game Corey Cool Brew, which was on the Spectrum that I released in, I think it was about March or April this year. So he's written a in-game tune, which is really, really cool, and he's most of the way through the title screen tune. And he's also going to be doing the sound effects for it, so he's got some really good credits in there. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. I thought a few months ago I looked at starting to do some dev again, and I looked at the Commodore 64 and watched some videos and tutorials and stuff, and I went, my brain's not coping with this. I'm never going to make a Commodore 64 game. I'm sorry. Back in the 90s, I made a few demos that were not that great or big, and I could understand it. But these days, it's just beyond me. And then I kept watching some, and then I thought, well, let me just try. So I gave it a go, and lo and behold, I came up with this game. And it's based on an old Game & Watch game that I really enjoyed back in the day. So I should have a lot of fun doing it. I'd actually started working on ideas for doing a Game Boy game that would work on the original grayscale Game Boy and also the color one, but then I pivoted back to the Commodore 64 because I'm a sucker for punishment, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun, and I watch all these people doing streams and stuff. There's a guy, Shallon50K in the UK, who is making a color Game Boy. Oh, it's for the Game Boy Advance, I think. I don't think it's for the color one. And also 2 Commodore 64 games. One is Pick and Mix, which is a 2-player game that I've been having a bit of fun doing some graphics for him here and there. And also he's porting a Switch game called Checkanoid, which has this little shooter guy that goes through flip screens and looks like a lot of fun. And I can't even fathom how he can come up with the ways to do the special effects in that, because he's got exploding pixels all over the screen and pixels that follow you with a pixel trail and things that bounce off the wall and explode and stuff. And it's all done with like redefined characters and things. And I'm just like, I don't understand how you're doing this, but it looks really, really cool. I'm glad you're doing it, not me, because maybe one day I'll get close to half as good as he is. But yeah, well, I guess it remains to be seen.
It's better we can hope for, really.
Yeah. But if you like our show, don't forget you can make a one-off donation of any size at ko-fi.com or coffee.com. That's ko-fi.com/Aussie Tech Heads. Buy us a coffee or 10 if you really
Just
like
like,
us that much. We need a lot of coffee to keep this show going, especially this late at night.
Just like Andrew has done, he's donated through that way.
You're all right in our book, sir.
And of course, there's also the good old Patreon.
That thing going up there.
Yeah.
Watch it,
Well, it
watch
was
it. There it
announced.
goes.
Announced that
Atmospheric
there's the
pressure doesn't
Ko-fi one. So yeah, so we have the Patreon, of course. You get through there, and we will be currently there's tiers, different tiers, different. Yeah, well, there's those often as well. You pay extra for those ones though. So there's different tiers. At the moment, the $4 one's the most popular one, which is basically saying it's making us do a show a week, because that's pretty much what the requirement is for that one. There's other tiers where we haven't necessarily implemented everything, so kind of a good thing that people haven't supported the other ones yet, because I don't have to do more work.
Once they do, we're gonna have to do more content, son.
What's this we? You'll end up being me. You know this, right?
Yes.
But yeah, so we've got Chris, we've got David Bird, we have Daniel and Amanda, we have Bouncing Yellow Ball, Bouncing Yellow Skull, and
See Deneuve.
and Kate, who I think has changed their name to something I can say, because they must have got tired of me cocking up their other name that they had in there. So, because it's the same person, they've just changed their name. So because C D whoever it was, I think is now Chris, and Kate was the other one, the first one. I can't remember who you
we
were.
Appreciate it, guys.
We do,
thanks for that.
and you know, as I say, like we don't expect it, and we're very grateful for it, but it really does help. Even though Patreon does take a couple of bucks out of everyone's donations because they're like that, but
the more the merrier.
But it helps with like Caster.io, for example, which is what we're using for streaming, and a few other programs we're using.
Upgrading Glenn's
Upgrading Glenn's computer. Yeah, well, it might take a few more people, I think, for that to happen. He needs a lot of upgrades
and motivation.
But yeah, so there's obviously Patreon, and yeah, coffee is the new coolness. That's basically, if you don't want to.
If it's coffee, it should be hot, right?
Oh no, I drink iced coffee.
You also drink that cold
brew.
You're talking about.
Well, I call it iced coffee, but yeah, it's cold brew. That's my favourite coffee.
It's Cool Brew. Corey Cool Brew.
Cool Brew.
I can't. Get it right, son.
I can't drink hot coffee anymore.
Remember on the goodies when Tim always got the beans, means, Heinz wrong, and he'd be like, "Get it right."
Yo, splat patipium. Wait, that was a footy show. So if you don't want to do US dollars, which is unfortunately all Patreon does, it's weird. You can do coffee, which is Australian dollars, and also you do a one-off donation. You don't have to do a monthly subscription if you don't want to. So if you just want to give us $1, go for it. You know, whatever works for you. You
don't get much coffee for $1 these days. Back when I was a young lad, you could get 4 coffees for $1.
Just about. You can also, if you wish, to sidestep any of those sort of things. If you don't feel comfortable, shoot us an email or whatever, and we'll chuck you our bank details, and you can just do a direct deposit if that helps. Because
We'll
I know
take
some
Bitcoin.
people who don't have PayPal accounts and don't like doing online transactions, which is understandable. So there's a few different ways of doing that. So
Oh, and the other thing I finally got done, Ethernetted up the house.
yes, you did.
So this room, spare room, my daughter's room, all connected through Cat6 Ethernet through the house now, instead of me going on the Wi-Fi and talk some like this. Now I should have a hopefully rock steady connection.
It is. It's been
I
good.
only plug it in over there in the wall.
It's been good so far.
Yeah. I'm getting like 800 to 900 down, which is not too bad.
Shut up. Well, it wouldn't work for me anyway because everything I own is Cat 5e, like even my router and switch and everything anyway. So, I couldn't go that fast anyway.
That's why that Dutchy guy wants to get Cat 6e so he can have 10 gigabit, because he's got a 2-story house, so he wants to connect the upstairs TVs and stuff through 10 gig. I don't know you need that much, but
You don't, but
he wants it.
if I was going to pre-wire my house, I would. If I was going to go to the trouble of doing it, I would do it properly and be done with it so I haven't got to worry about it. But because I just like ad hocing stuff and chucking stuff together at the last minute, it basically just is whatever it consists of what I've got.
You do
making
your
it.
own stuff though.
I do, yeah.
I had a few other electrical things that needed doing, and they don't like me touching electricity much, so I thought while they're here, they can do that. But I surprised them. They hooked up all of the Ethernet, and then he's like, "Oh, can you test it?" So I plugged the cable into my daughter's computer, and I went ping google.com, and it came back with 4 replies happy. So I was like, "Yeah, that's working." He's like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "I just did a quick connection to Google, and it came back and it worked."
I Googled myself.
But I don't know what you're doing. I said, "Okay, look, we'll close that down. We'll open up speedtest.net. Oh, look, we got 800 down. That's good, isn't it?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, I understand that." He said, "But from your computers to the wall and to the mode of the router or switch in the lounge room, you probably want to do Cat 6, but you probably understand more than that than I do by the sounds of things, so I'll just leave you to it." I was like, "Yep, good one, mate."
So in case you're wondering
This week's episode of Aussie Tech.
what happens when you do a ping, I'll just put this over your head because it's the easiest place to put it. So you can see. Oh, why don't you? It's supposed to see this. Why do they mess with this every time? It's supposed to like make the text large by default, but for whatever reason, it's like, no, you don't need large text. What do you want large text for? I'm like,
So you can get more pings for your $1.
I want large text so I can actually see what I'm typing.
More pings for your $1.
And there's no way to do it anymore. Oh, font. Make it font size. Let's make the font size bigger.
What even is a font?
There we go.
There we go.
So, yeah, so basically, you can see there if you ping, in this case it was google.com, but you can ping any website and it'll basically just throw a connection to it and tell you if you're getting a round trip. You want to see sent and received. You don't want to see lost, ideally. And obviously, the lower the ping, the better the quality. So that's basically what that is. That's just done in your command prompt. It's just a quick and dirty way of testing to make sure you've got. Especially, it works like if you do like an Australian server. It's a good way to tell the difference between. Oh, actually, it didn't make any difference. That is Google, I suppose. I wouldn't expect much. But if you did, let's see, what's an American, I don't know, Amazon? Would that make any difference? Usually if you go overseas, you'll notice your ping time really slows down. There you go. So it went from 24 milliseconds to 250 milliseconds. So
it's 10 times as long.
Takes 10 times as long to do a round trip to the States as it does to go to a local server. So it's just a bit of... This is the whole thing that people are like, oh, I'm just, I get server lag on the game. I need faster internet. It's like, no, you don't need faster internet. You need to find a server that's closer to home.
Yeah.
Data, as fast as it is, still takes time to travel.
Go for the west coast of the US or Japan or something.
Yeah, or, even...
We had to do that with CreeperHost when we had Minecraft.
I've even found, like, sometimes Canadian servers or... like Swedish servers tend to be pretty quick. Like there's
Canadian, eh?
Yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, you have to pick and choose your servers.
we do some news?
I suppose people are paying. People, that's what people are paying for.
The show half over. A new Google Assistant feature called Hold for Me waits on hold so you don't have to. In previous years, Google launched Call Screen to vet your incoming calls, Duplex for restaurant reservations, and just this month, a feature called Verified Calls that will tell you who's calling and why. Today, Google announced a feature called Hold for Me, which will make the Google Assistant stay on the line for you when you're placed on hold and then alert you when someone picks up. In the short demo of Hold for Me, Google showed how a Pixel device owner is able to activate the new feature after they've been placed on hold. It is done by tapping a new button that appears in the phone screen above the buttons for muting the call, turning on the speakerphone, and other in-call phone controls. Once activated, you're alerted with a message that says, "Don't hang up," where you're advised that Google Assistant is listening to the call for you so you can do other things. A button is also available on their screen that lets you tap to return to the call at any time. Below that, an on-screen message that says music playing to indicate if the Google Assistant is still hearing the hold music. You can also just choose to press the red hang up button to end the call from this screen. When a person comes on the line, the device will alert you it's time to return to the call. Google says the new feature will come to its new Pixel 5 devices, which will soon be followed by its older generation Pixel phones via the next Pixel feature drop rollout. So it's good if you've got a Pixel phone, but the rest of us who've got Android, don't matter.
Yeah, but see, this is where the thing with having different manufacturers, they've all got to test the software on their phones and make sure it works. How's it going
to go with those things? Google is listening on hold to your music. Okay, someone's back. Your call is very important to us. Please keep on the line. Wait, it's not back again.
Sorry, Google. Just keep them on hold. I'm in the toilet.
Yeah.
Put them on hold.
That's right. Yeah, we can do that.
Oh,
Seems like an interesting feature. Wondering if a lot of these other things I've never heard of or seen Duplex for restaurant reservation. Must be US only.
There's a lot of this stuff's US only. They used to have one called Grand Central Station, I think it was called.
Yes.
And it was basically a free phone number, effectively, that was a digital, it used data instead of cell tower.
Yep.
And that was never seen here. There's a lot of stuff that's US only. Several reasons.
Thanks, Google.
Well, a lot of it's because our network doesn't support a lot of it. They use different, they use LTE. They use different formats over there as well. So if you were to make something work over here, you'd have to completely recode the way it's designed to work. Even things like the Wi-Fi to self extender networks, where they've been a thing in the States for years. If you've got a bad phone connection but you've got good internet, they would just give you an extender box that would just trick the phone into thinking it's on the cell tower.
Send you a femtel service.
Yeah, but here, that's very, very rare, and it is now available, but it's still really rare. And they don't want to do it because it costs them data. See, because data's money.
We got Wi-Fi calls over Wi-Fi now anyway, so
it doesn't really work well. In my experience, it's not great. I do, and I have it enabled here because our phones isn't good, but I find it works to clear the signal up, but you still need phone signal, like at least 1 bar of phone signal, because I think it still charges, like it still acts as if it's a phone call in terms of the way it accesses the phone. But I think once you're connected, it can use the data to help boost, clean the signal, but I don't think it
100% data.
At least on mine anyway, which is an older phone now, admittedly, but it doesn't just use, if you don't have any phone signal at all, you can't make a call.
Yep.
Because I was actually in an area where I had Wi-Fi, but I had no phone signal, and I couldn't make a call on it, which I thought was the whole point of it. But maybe,
I think so.
Maybe that, as I said, maybe it's because it's an older phone. I don't know. Who knows? But speaking of updates, iOS 14, the worst release to date.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not reading the story.
That's saying a lot because they've had
some pretty bad releases. Basically, they're saying that there's issues galore, from performance issues, battery issues, user interface lags, keyboard stutters, crashes, problems with apps, Wi-Fi failures, Bluetooth connectivity issues. It's not just limited to the iPhone; it's also iPad problems, such as charging problems, etc. So hundreds of millions of devices are basically failing left, right, and center at the moment.
Ah.
So they're basically saying just don't upgrade at the moment because in the old days the solution was to wind back to the previous version, but the previous version is no better. so they're
Now what do
basically
you do?
they're basically saying if you've got the option to factory reset your phone, factory reset it and leave it on the version it came with until they get all this sorted.
Yep.
Because they're having just so many problems. It's just like testers are just not even.
It's bloody ridiculous, mate.
Yeah, I mean, for a company that doesn't, they build their hardware to proprietary standards, so they don't have this problem. It's the reason they control their hardware from end to end, so that their software works. But apparently, nobody told the developers that. So, but even simple things like compatibility with Office 365 and stuff like that, apparently it's all broken again. So,
Wow.
yeah. So basically, just don't own an iPhone, you'll be fine. I think that's what the story's saying.
Apple's fault.
It's not what I'm saying, it's what Apple's saying. Don't buy an iPhone, you'll be perfectly fine. That's what they're getting to. They want you to buy, something that's other than an iPhone. Clearly. I mean,
blame Tim Apple.
yeah. He was still there. I mean, really. So, but yeah. So basically, if you do update, be prepared to have a lot of issues. But it's like some of the stuff are issues going back 3 and 4 and 5 versions. Like they not only haven't fixed the things that were problems, they've introduced new problems. Like it's
99 bugs in the code, fix 100 bugs in the code.
Yeah. It's like they've intentionally gone, oh, we're not going to worry about those. They're only minor problems. But here's some bigger ones that'll take your mind off those smaller ones. Yeah. Like bricking your device and not letting you charge it and killing your battery in 45 minutes. Which is a pretty impressive effort, actually. I was watching a guy, he's got one of the new iPhones, which has got a, whatever it is, 18-hour battery life or something like that. Something ridiculous. Like he said he can get it through all day with it, no problems at all. He doesn't run out of charge. Updated the new iOS and he gets like 45 minutes. Like it just, it's just done. So, and of course Apple like, oh, it must be a bad battery. It's like, it wasn't a bad battery yesterday. It's perfectly fine yesterday. So,
well, some news that you'll be happy about. Gateway is back. Yay!
oh really?
And it's selling AMD-powered budget laptops at Walmart.
Huh?
Gateway, the major PC brand of the 90s with the iconic cow-spotted logo, is back. Well, kind of. Acer now owns the company, has decided to start selling Gateway-branded laptops again exclusively at Walmart. As often the case with Walmart-exclusive laptops, the main attraction is the price. On the most affordable end is the Gateway Ultra Thin series, which starts at $179 US, 11.6-inch laptop with AMD A4 and spans up to $499 15.6-inch model with a Core i5. There's also a $199 11.6-inch touchscreen 2-in-1 available, powered by an Intel Celeron processor. The names aren't very interesting, but they do come in a variety of fun colors, including purple, blue, green, and rose gold, as well as black. On the higher end is the Gateway Creator Series, two 15.6-inch laptops meant for media editing and gaming. No funky colors on these, they only come in black, but they do seem to have some decent specs. You can choose the $799 rig with the Ryzen 5 4600H and an NVIDIA GTX 1650 GPU, or a $999 model with a Core i5 and an RTX 2060.
I'll take the Ryzen.
That puts them a step above the Ultra Thin series in price, but still fairly inexpensive as creator-focused machines go. I guess it's at least partially because they don't seem to have a lot of storage, only 256 gig each.
Yeah, but storage is cheap.
Yeah, you just plug in things through the USB now, don't you? So
I mean, 256 gig SSD boot drive is fine. You just have a secondary data drive.
Yep.
Still one of my favorite logos ever.
Isn't it?
I love it.
Started on a farm in the back shed. Why not? What else are you going to put in the shed, in the barn?
Yeah, no, I had a gateway back in the day. It was a freaking huge tower. The thing must have been 3 foot tall, 2 foot across, and about 4 foot deep.
You sure that wasn't a fridge?
No, it was their PC. It came with a 24-inch CRT monitor, which like took 2 people to carry this thing.
It would.
That's why the case was so big, so the monitor could sit on top of the case and not look out of place.
Did you kind of type like this?
It was.
I get binoculars.
The case, that was back when they were making their own peripheral. Do you remember back in the day, I don't know if you remember, there was a massive scandal, and Dell was the main proponent of it, but other ones did it as well, where there must have been a bad batch of capacitors released out of the factory, and every motherboard made for 2 years just fried, whether it was Gigabyte, whether it was whatever, just killed motherboards because all the capacitors leaked. It was about then, so it was like late 90s, late like 98, 99, 2000 in there. And this gateway at that time were doing proprietary boards. So you could upgrade some things like memory and CPU and hard drive, but you couldn't upgrade graphics cards, motherboards, stuff like that because they were proprietary. And I thought, this is just all case, like thinking it's just to show off, just a case, just to make it look cool.
Yep.
And I thought I'll clean all the dust and stuff out of it, so I've taken the side of the case off. And this motherboard must have been 3 foot by 3 foot sitting inside this case. Like they didn't use
That's way to do your cooling, son.
They didn't use like compounded components or dual layer motherboard. Like everything was just on this. This is one sheet of components.
We put all the resistors over there, all the capacitors down here, the CPU in its corner.
It was an amazing thing. It was 4 or 5 like work bought. We bought it for work because I was doing graphic design and I was designing the website and designing all their publicity stuff for work at the time. So I got work to pay for it. But it was just an insane thing going on inside that case. Like I remember leaving the side off it because it was too cool to cover up. Yeah. And that was where my love for not putting sides on cases came from. But
now all the cases come with a window in them.
But
so your RGBs can flash.
Every single case I've had faces. I've got my case sitting. I can't really show you. I've got my case sitting up here, and it's against the wall, and my cables face this way. And every single case I've got, it's got to be the wrong side. Like I need a case that's reversed the other way so that I can. You mean
you can't see your RGBs?
No, I unplugged.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
I unplugged them.
Need to see your RAM flashing, son.
No, I unplugged all that. But it lets me like check on dust and stuff. And I can't do it because I always see the back side of the case. But yeah, no, that was all my love for just. And ever since then, I always bought the physically biggest case I could possibly buy. Like it just became a thing. Everyone wanted smaller and smaller and smaller. I want the largest server 6RU rack mount case I can get. Sure, I might have to put a micro ATX in it because that's all I can afford, but I want this massive big case.
You want your first IBM computer that took up half a room or something.
It's the same. Like I've got a compact sitting over my. Yeah, I'll show you. I'm going to regret this, but for those watching,
you've broken the fourth wall now.
Yeah, I know. You see, sitting over there, I've got an actual rack. Like that's a server rack, right?
Nice rack.
So, and that is a compact, actual like 16 core server sitting in the middle of it for no other reason than the fact that it's huge and I love having it sitting there. I don't even use it. I don't even use it. It's not even powered on. Like there's not even a motherboard in it anymore. It's actually storage now. Nice. There's no top on it. I actually use it for storage and put stuff inside it. But the thing is, it actually fits and I did have it set up like this at one point. It actually fits my Foxtel box, my media server, my amplifier, my switch, my router, and a laptop actually fit inside that case, and I can put the lid on top. So it's just there because it's there, you know.
Nice and tidy.
Hey, Raiders. So it's just good to have. I just love massive cases. I don't care if they don't have anything inside them. You know, it's
This
so
looks
bizarre.
cool.
Like I always wanted to
Seems
find,
cool.
another 24-inch CRT, so I could take the screen out of it and put a fish tank in there.
Yeah.
Because that'd be awesome. I know people do it with the Mac Classics and
download
stuff.
an aquarium screensaver.
Not anymore. I used to. That looks good on multi-monitors because the fish, they swim around everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Now I've got floppy cameras and stuff.
What's that going up?
Oh, no. I've broken the fourth wall. It'll never work again.
That's it.
Good enough. So, yeah. But no, Gateway is cool. They were always a fun company. Right up until, I think, right at the end where Dell bought them out. Or someone bought them out. It might have been Compaq. But someone right at the end bought them out, and they changed. But Gateway laptops and Gateway desktops and PCs and the gaming
Problem
rigs.
was all the computer companies went cutthroat right down to tiny profit margins just to get people with quantity instead of quality, and
Yeah, exactly. And that's what ended up
nobody could
happening.
survive.
And Gateway weren't that company. Like they were the Republic of gamers of the 90s.
Yep.
Like they did everything to the absolute nth degree. Like they had just solid steel cases, and they had big, heavy, chunky laptops, and they had, like everything they did was done with a purpose. You know, they weren't afraid to have a full screen display when you turn it on, saying Gateway and a big cow sitting there. You know, like it's just what they did. And I was really actually disappointed when they heard that they were going broke, because I'm like, oh man, they were just a fun company. There needs to be more companies like that.
Yeah.
Which, you know, there isn't really. I mean, Republic of Gamers is an out there in your face company, but I wouldn't call them a fun company. Not like Gateway. I mean, if Gateway were around now, they would build, you know, a case 4 times the size it needs to be, just so they could put 25 times more LEDs in it. That's just what they would do.
How many cows you got in that one?
Yeah, that's the sort of thing they do, or they'd embed a LCD into the side of the case, you know, and have a cow screensaver or something on the side of the case.
Nice.
There's an idea.
Flying cows instead of the flying toasters.
Flashbacks. Wow, I tell you. They'll get you every time. So, Robodebt. Now,
Yay.
for the last couple of years, basically what's been happening is a robot's been ringing you up saying, see you in court. And it's been legitimised by Centrelink as a perfectly acceptable practice. From July 1st of July 2016, actually, it started. And basically it saw 1.2 near enough million cases that decided that it had to ring and squeeze blood from a stone. But Michael Hodge, GQ, has argued that it's unlawful and everything about it was wrong from end to end, and he can basically prove it.
And they knew it.
And they admitted to it, but they just didn't care. So he's decided to start a class action.
Why would you charge big billionaire companies money when you can get it from the poor people who don't have it?
Yeah, that's right. So not only is it he's doing it, well, most of these people don't even realise he's doing it on behalf of the 1.2 million people he's doing it for. Plus, it's going to be a lot more than that, because it's going to include their spouse, like anybody who's living in the house, so their spouse, their kids, any debts they've incurred since, any troubles they've had since, any difficulties, or if they've lost their house or their cars. Like, it's going to include all that. So it's not only sorry, I just looked at my camera and my zoom's really, I must have bumped the zoom at some point. Anyway, it's not only the original money, like let's say it was, 10,000 a head or whatever it was. It's all these other damages and everything that's going with it as well. And this was put through, when was this done?
And sadly, some people who don't exist anymore because of it.
Yeah, at least their families should benefit from it. They had a hearing today, Thursday, a preemptive hearing or whatever they call it,
Yep.
and already, effectively the government, because they're the ones who it's basically against, he's trying to settle it out of court
Gee.
because they know if this goes to court, they know they're going to lose.
I'll just use taxpayer money to pay any court fees or charges or whatever.
But they won't be allowed to. They're going to have to. They're going to have to use the money that they collected. But it's not only going to be. Yeah, they're trying to settle out of court because not only will it definitely win in court, once it goes to court, it sets a precedent. Therefore, it causes. There's been other issues. Other things similar to that since then as well that would be affected by that precedent, not including anything that's possibly in the future. So it would be...
So any future janky ideas that the government comes up with squeeze money out of people?
I mean, it's going to be a huge... it's going to be a huge class action. See, the thing is, he's saying, I don't care if they're guilty or if they're innocent, it's irrelevant. The entire process was unlawful, therefore everybody affected, guilty or innocent, basically is entitled to a fair trial, therefore everything's, it's wrong. So if you want to after they've collected, after they've won their 10 grand or whatever they've won back,
yep.
Sure, by all means go and do it, but do it through the proper channels. If they really rorted the system and they're really guilty of it and they really owe you money, then go for it, but do it lawfully. Don't do it because, in a way that you think you can get away with it. So this guy's either going to be dead in 2 days' time or there's going to be one hell of a lawsuit coming up very soon.
Right. Hopefully.
So...
Teach him a damn lesson.
But it's just funny that even Michael, even the guys who are defending the case have admitted that it was unlawful. Like they're like, well... So, yeah, it hasn't got much of a chance once it actually goes through. Now, if somebody would do the same thing with that stupid guy who calls himself a politician in Victoria, it'd solve the rest of the problem this country is currently facing. Anyway. No, your turn.
Researchers finally create metal wires made from carbon. University of California in Berkeley has made a big announcement. Transistors based on carbon rather than silicon could potentially boost computer speed and cut their power consumption by more than 1,000-fold. Think of a mobile phone that holds its charge for months, but the set of tools needed to build working carbon circuits has remained incomplete until now. A team of chemists and physicists at the University of California, Berkeley has finally created the last tool in the toolbox, a metallic wire made entirely from carbon, setting the stage for a ramp-up in research to build carbon-based transistors and ultimately computers. Staying within the same material, within the realm of carbon-based materials, is what brings this technology together now, says Felix Fischer, UC Berkeley professor of chemistry, noting that the ability to make all circuit elements from the same material makes fabrication easier. This has been one of the key things that has been missing in big picture of an all-carbon-based integrated circuit architecture. Heat was used to induce the molecules to join together in a process Fischer compares to an atomic scale set of Legos. They are all precisely engineered so that there's only one way they can fit together. It's as if you take a bag of Legos and you shake it, and out comes a fully assembled car. What would that be, dude?
I'm pretty sure some Chinese companies make cars, I think.
This is from IKEA, right? That is the magic of controlling the self-assembly with chemistry. I believe this technology will revolutionize how we build integrated circuits in the future.
Just reading a white paper on it, because that's what I do.
Yep.
But basically they're saying, from what I can understand, it looks like they're effectively using the principles of a 3D printer, where you have an easily manufacturable size.
Yep.
So if we use 3D printers, for example, you put your 1.75 filament, which is small but manageable and easily to work with, easy to manage, easy to print, easy to control.
Yep.
And then you put it through a heating process, and then you spit it out through a 0.3 or a 0.2, whatever size nozzle you want to use to print.
Yep.
And from what I'm reading, it's the same principle. They're basically taking carbon wire, which they currently use. A lot of CPUs, a lot of GPUs, a lot of processors already linked internally with carbon wire. So nano scale carbon wire is not unheard of. It's quite common. They use it a lot. They're taking something like that and they're effectively 3D printing a transistor, and they're basically using like two printers. They're using one to print the transistor, and then they're using the other one to print the tracks inside the transistor. So it seems like it's. I mean, they're not exactly like a 3D printer, but it's the same principle. They're using one to create the body of it, and they're using another one to create the internals, and it's all done. As you said, you're basically shoving one molecule into the next one, but you're doing it through a. It's not like you're making the wire and then laying the wire in the track you want it. You're literally creating the wire as you want it. So,
right.
Yeah. So it's really interesting.
Yep.
So we'll see.
How much longer we got to go now?
Oh, who cares at this point? We've been going for
Keep it
55,
going.
so I only got a couple of quick stories anyway. Raiders, I'm not sure what phone site, unless you're talking about the Xiaomi stuff, which is what I'm a fan of. You can get them on a few places. Have a look around, see who's got the best price. Kogan's got a massive Xiaomi sale on at the moment. So that's where I got my couple of things I bought the other day. But depends on what you're buying.
We'd be open to them sponsoring our show.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with Kogan or Xiaomi, either of them.
Yeah, call up Ruslan. Get Ruslan on the phone. Russ.
Well, I know actually at the moment, I heard on another podcast that on Kogan, you use the code ROBOT on all Xiaomi products and you get 10% off.
Nice.
So I know that's the thing. So Windows XP, just for something a little bit nostalgic. Windows XP leak confirmed after the user compiles the leaked code into a working OS.
Oh.
So Windows XP and Server 03 source code that was leaked online last week has been confirmed to be authentic after a YouTube user compiled the code into a working operating system. Shortly after the leak occurred, ZDNet reached out to multiple current and former Microsoft to confirm. At the time, they told ZDNet from some review the code appeared to be incomplete. But the components they analysed seem to be authentic. NT Dev, a US-based IT tech behind behind Twitter and YouTube accounts, was one of the millions of users who downloaded it. But rather than wait for an official statement, he decided to compile the code for himself. According to the video shared online, he was successful in compiling the Windows XP code over the weekend to Windows 2000 Server 2003 yesterday. So that's interesting. Although what's interesting is his videos have been taken off YouTube. So whether Microsoft sent the lawyers in or
DCMA takedown.
It doesn't say why. It just says his video is no longer available.
You know, he was playing copyrighted music in the background.
That's what. Wasn't the fact that he compiled an operating system live on a stream.
No. There was Taylor Swift in the background did it to him, dude.
But apparently the leaked code also included Windows 2000 embedded CE, Windows NT 3.5 and 4, and MS-DOS 3 and 6. So I wouldn't mind getting my hands on that because I could use an old. I used to love when DOS 6 and try and find a copy. I've got a whole heap of old games. I could probably easily enough compile myself a 622 system and just have a retro game system because I got.
Go to GOG.
Well, I got a heap from there, but they a lot of those are updated to run on modern Windows.
Yeah.
A lot of them still use
DOSBox,
but a lot of them are actually compiled to run on Windows. But I found, the big storage tubs, the big white ones you get from the $2 shop for like $12. I found one of those full of CDs.
Oh, nice.
There must be at least 1,000 games in there.
It'll take you a while to get through.
So, you got anything else?
I want to be doing stuff this weekend. I'm hopefully picking up an Amiga 500 from a friend of mine.
Nice.
That'll be nice. Never had an Amiga ever. I had a friend who's in the same town as I am now. When we were growing up, we were in high school together, and he had Amiga 500, I think it was. So I was tempted to get a 600. I like the form factor of it. Nice, small, compact, but supposedly almost as good as the others, although apparently there was some cut down stuff in there, so you were better off getting like a 2000 or 1200 or something. Astronomers discover possible 60s era moon rocket booster heading back to Earth. On August 19th this year, astronomers using Panoramic Survey Telescope and Rapid Response System Observatory in Hawaii spotted an object destined to enter Earth orbit this autumn, or fall as they're saying in the US, designated as Object 2020 SO. The item is now believed to be a rocket booster from NASA's Surveyor 2 mission, which crash landed on the moon in 1966 during the Apollo era of the Cold War space race. I suspect this newly discovered Object 2020 SO to be an old rocket booster because it's following an orbit about the Sun that is extremely similar to Earth's, nearly circular in the same plane and only slightly farther away from the Sun at its farthest point, said Dr. Paul Chodas, the director of NASA's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies. That's precisely the kind of orbit that a rocket stage separated from lunar mission would follow once it passes by the moon, escapes into orbit around the Sun. It's unlikely that an asteroid could have evolved into an orbit like this, but not impossible. This specific type of event has only happened once before, namely in 2002 with the Saturn V upper stage from Apollo 12. So it's been hanging around in space for a while.
Probably still in good condition. Space tends to preserve stuff pretty well.
Yeah. No, as long as the radiation doesn't get to stuff.
Get SpaceX up there and get their arm on it and grab it and bring it back in.
Tell Elon to just drive his Tesla a bit to the right. Give it a boost.
Use the autopilot.
Yeah.
Speaking of SpaceX, SpaceX Starlink is in action. Internet satellites keep emergency workers online. Basically, the short version of this is Starlink, who is SpaceX's Tesla's version of a satellite internet, has been in trials, and they've been delivering internet services since early August to Washington State military emergency management and helping residents recover from wildfires. So originally, that's a cross between originally and initially.
Allegedly.
They started private trials with over there, and they've opened them up to a lot more public now, so that it's basically, they call it a UFO on a stick. It's basically a 50 centimeter dish that you plug in with a USB cable, you stick it out your window, and it does all the things it needs to do. So it's fairly portable because it's just USB. But they've been using it for testing, and now the military's been using it to help with all the coordinations for wildfires that are going on, and now they've opened it up to the public to let them start to use it as well. So it's been, it's got really good latency, like less than 30 milliseconds, which for a satellite is absolutely insane. Like
were your pings before, but like 24?
Yeah. I'm at my sister's place there on the Sky Muster, and they're getting like 750 milliseconds, almost a second ping time.
Yeah.
There's a 30 milliseconds, so that's nuts for a satellite internet is insane. Sometimes, and they're trying to get, they said it's claimed at 20 milliseconds, and they said some people are saying that they're getting that. So the speeds are currently limited to 25 megabits, but that's only in the testing phase, so that'll be taken up to gigabit once the testing phase is finished. But you can see there, where are we? You can see there that's like the dish. It's just basically, you literally just sit on your roof and point it upright and you get the signal. So, they've limited it to 42 at the moment. Yeah, that will be later up to 100 megabits. So,
40 should be pretty good when you're used to not very much at all.
Yeah, that's it. It's not like it's a big deal, but I thought that was pretty cool. Just, obviously it's only they haven't got a lot of satellites up there at the moment, but the ones they've got are working really well. So it's just a bit longer until they get a few more in action.
Mm-hmm.
And Tesla, while I'm at it quickly, has unveiled plans for the new batteries, which, okay, here's the thing. They're not really new. They've actually been talking about this for about 10 years, since the Roadster first came out. But
the next Powerwall?
What they're doing, they've gone to 40. So they're currently using 18650s, which means the cell is 18 and a half, 18 mil round and 65 mil long. So, but what the new cells are 4680, which are 46 mil round and 80 mil long. So, but what that means, the cell itself is only it's like the physical space the cell takes up is 16% larger. So not very much physically in terms of the way it takes up, but it is 6 times more power dense.
Oh.
So for 16% physical cell size increase, you get 6 times the power. So a normal Tesla cell is basically a 3 amp hour cell. So now the new cells are anywhere between sort of 15, 18-ish amp hour for the same size cell, which means that instead of the Tesla having to have, I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, it was, I think it's like 2170 cells, something like that they're using in the Model 3 and Ys.
Yep.
I don't know, is it 21? No. I can't remember the number. No, it's more than that. I can't remember. Anyway, a lot of cells because they need the capacity. Obviously, you need voltage. So you put cells in series to get voltage, but then you need a lot of those voltage strings to get the amperage, which is what does the work. So they've gone to
Model 3 and Y have got 2170 cells.
That's the size of them, 2170. So 18650s were the earlier cells. 2170 are the 3 and Y have got, which once again were like 5% or 7% larger size-wise, but like twice as powerful. And then these ones are, more powerful on top of that. But yeah, so basically what it means is they can use, on an entry-level vehicle, they can use 5 times less cells to get the same sort of range. So suddenly the claims of this $30,000 Tesla aren't that far away because the batteries are the most expensive part of it. But if you're using 5 times less of those batteries, you're dropping your production costs substantially. So it's and then these are talking to be budget Teslas, so they're going to be low-range Teslas, so they're not going to be the 600 miles or 1,000k Teslas like they traditionally have. They're going to be like 100-mile Teslas, which is still more than the average person needs on a daily basis.
Yep.
So, they're going to have probably, instead of having 5 times less, they're going to have 8 times less cells. So suddenly your production cost comes down exponentially. So a $30,000 Tesla isn't out of the question in a couple of years' time.
Nice.
So I would definitely buy that. And then the thing is that the way that the battery packs are designed, they're modular packs. So you could buy a $30,000 Tesla, and then if somebody, in 3 or 4 years' time, if the price of the packs come down, you could always put a bigger battery pack in it. So
increase your range.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Windows on ARM is about to get lots of apps thanks to a new x64 emulation. Currently, Windows on ARM devices like the Surface Pro X can only run native 32 and 64-bit ARM apps alongside 32-bit x86 apps. The vast majority of desktop apps, including Adobe's Creative Suite, have moved to 64-bit x86, and many have stopped supporting their 32-bit variants. This has left devices like the Surface Pro X unable to access certain apps, but Microsoft's new emulation support will mean any and all Windows apps will now work on Windows on ARM. The new x64 emulation support will start rolling out to Windows Insider testers in November and should arrive in a broader operating system update next year. Sounds really good. Do you like little surfaces?
Well, that's the fact they're going to ARM processors is good because ARM processors are becoming...
NVIDIA ARM processors?
Was it NVIDIA?
Weren't they the ones who brought them out?
Maybe. I can't remember. I know someone did. But yeah, the ARM processors are the workhorses. They always have been. They're very stable, very reliable. They're not super power, conservative. They don't really care about that. They're there just to be a workhorse of a processor.
NVIDIA, $40 billion.
Was NVIDIA? Yeah, okay. And so the fact that they're giving them a bit more flexibility isn't a bad thing. That's something that
Does that make? Do we call it NAM?
Vidiarm.
Vidiarm?
Envium. Envium.
Envious.
So, yeah, no, that's pretty cool. As long as it can play Doom, we're all good.
Yeah, everything.
That'll have to be the first game that they port, right?
I saw somebody has now made Doom for the Pico 8.
Oh,
and
really?
They've called it Poom. But it's going to be released soon. It should be pretty interesting.
Well, as long as you can make a QR code into a game.
Game in QR code data. That's pretty awesome.
It was pretty cool. I never thought about a QR code like that, but it makes sense. It's literally just a bunch of data sitting on a screen, so there's absolutely no reason why you can't turn it into a game.
Yeah.
Speaking of QR codes, so I need to lose weight because, let's face it, I'm sitting on my ass all day doing nothing. So I can't afford the Mi Fits and the Google watches, and so, but what I have discovered is Xiaomi comes to the rescue again, and they are doing a Xiaomi Mi Band. This is the Mi Band 5, is their new one. It's a fitness tracker sports thing. The actual center part of the watch comes out, and you can change the band, have different color bands and stuff. But it is, it has your pulse, right, and your heart rate and your body temperature and all that sort of stuff on the back of it, and it's got like a week-long battery life or something, and it counts all your steps and your heart monitor, and it still does all your phones and messages and everything like a...
Does it do sleep tracking?
Yeah, it does sleep tracking.
Oh, nice.
It's got customizable skins and all that sort of stuff, and notifications, and obviously menstrual cycle tracking and stuff for women. 24-hour heart rate monitoring, real-time monitoring, sleep monitoring, rapid eye movement monitoring, 14-day battery life, magnetic charging, 11 sports modes, rowing machines, yoga, etc. 50 meters water resistance. Nice. So it's, and they're on sale for $55 at the moment. You can get 10% off if you use that robot code from Kogan.
You can deliver it to Queensland by the look of it.
Yeah, I got it delivered. So I got that, and then I got their body composition smart scale 2, which is
39.
$39.
And 10% off that.
10% off that. And then it does a 13 precise data point, so it does your body fat composition and all that sort of stuff. It does even has a balance detector. It has a few other bits and pieces. Does a few other things. But the other cool part about it is it actually it uses Bluetooth, obviously, to connect to your phone. But it has what they call a small load scale. So if you wanted to, if you need to weigh a parcel or something to send for shipping or whatever, it's got the option of weighing at a small weight.
Yep.
And it's accurate up to like 10 grams or something.
Oh, nice. Stick it in the kitchen, you can measure the ingredients for your cake.
Pretty much, and it shows you on your phone because it hooks to your phone, and it shows you it's got a display on it, but it also shows you on your phone whatever you're doing on the scale. Cool. But it all goes, the only thing is it's capped at 150, so I've got to lose some weight before I can find out how heavy I am. But this is a long way of saying that they have an app as well. They have the Xiaomi... what is it called? The Mi Fit app, and you can go in there, and it does all the tracking like you'd expect, with the walking and the running and the cycles and the
Fit, you unfit.
Yeah, but it's got a friends thing, so you can go on here and you can show your QR code, or someone can scan your QR code.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's going to focus on that.
Add them in.
Yeah, so you can add friends. And you can all lose weight together and have that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's cool because it shows your workout regime and everything you'd expect. But it's so cheap. It's, whatever it was, $90 for the watch and the scales.
Yep.
I mean,
it's worth it.
Like, I've always wanted that because I'm so lazy so bad when it comes to tracking my own workouts and stuff, and I just never bothered to do it. But something like this, for For that price,
Little for you.
you're kind of crazy not to be honest. So,
thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Heads Show, broadcast weekly. We can be found at facebook.com/Aussie Tech Heads, twitter.com/Aussie Tech Heads, and youtube.com/Aussie Tech Heads. Also now at patreon.com/Aussie Tech Heads. Sign up for $4 a month, $10 a month, or from several other tiers. See the site for details. And coffee.com/Aussie Tech Heads, KO-FI. Make a one-off donation of any size. Email us Glenn Wheeler Warlock at aussietechheads.com.au. You can hear Aussie Tech Heads on aussietechradio.com 24/7, back-to-back play of some of the best tech-related shows from around Australia and New Zealand. New shows are added each Friday. See you next time.
bye.